So we started a series about leaving a legacy, and we were talking about a little bit about how we would go about doing that. And I almost wanted to change how we were phrasing it, because I think people get the wrong idea, as if the idea is that you want to try to make people think something good about you. And that's just probably not going to be good. Someone told me the other day that a certain famous athlete who passed away recently had a really notoriously bad character and made people sign non-disclosure agreements before he died, so literally they wouldn't tell. That's not what I'm talking about here today when I mean leaving a legacy. This is not trying to talk people into believing you are something that you're not. But what we tried to establish is just simply this, that you leave a trail, and your trail becomes your legacy. It just becomes what other people see. It's a well-worn path on the ground, and people see it, and then they follow it. And how generations go is one generation tends to, not always, not exclusively, but tends to follow. And so it's important the kind of legacy that we leave. It's important, maybe better to say this, it's important the kind of trail that we blaze. Is that a better way of saying it? Because it's going to be easy for people then to stay in that lane. It's also probably important that if someone blazed a less than wonderful trail for you, that you work like crazy to start a different one, to veer on a different path. And that can be a lot more work, and we certainly can understand and empathize with people that have had a rough start. And that's no small thing. Believe me, it's not a small thing. You watch a kid that grew up with a bad set of parents or something like that, and for them to have to overcome it, to find a different way to live their life. And again, as we said, this is why, one of the reasons why we say don't judge. Don't judge, because you don't know. You don't know what that person was handed in life. We like to judge, though, don't we? It's kind of like a pastime. Look at this guy. What's their problem? But we judge because it kind of makes us feel better about ourselves in some way. If we can do that, which is really sick and sad, but it's true. At least we might as well know that about ourselves. That's why we do it, because we want to feel better. And so if I can judge this person, then I can feel better about. But the important thing is not to worry about other people. It's just to worry about yourself. And so I was thinking about the legacy and these ruts and these paths. I thought about who probably really is the greatest legacy of the Bible, and that would be Abraham. Throughout the Bible, especially in the Old Testament, but throughout the Bible, even in the New Testament, we are referenced to the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Ready? The God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Right? Dad, son, and grandson. There was a path. There was a pattern. And it's pretty amazing, if you think about that for your kids or your grandkids someday to say, I'm serving the God of, Billy. I'm serving Uncle Louie's God. That they so associate you and God together. That's their God. That's the one they're going to follow. And so Abraham blazed this trail. He left probably the greatest legacy ever and changed really the course of human history. And it all starts with a couple of small verses in Genesis 12. So we'll read there. Genesis 12, verse 1. The Lord said, to Abram. His name's not Abraham yet, it's Abram. Abram means exalted father. Exalted father. And this is important because we all exalt somebody. We all lift somebody up. Is there somebody in your life that you exalt? Like when I was a kid, I exalted Sugar Ray Leonard. Right? I exalted Billy Sims. I'll tell you my age. These are who I exalted. I still have a Sports Illustrated cover of Sugar Ray Leonard in my office, right? And so there's somebody that you want to emulate and be like. Now, nothing wrong with those people per se. Once I got out of my that phase of my life, I have others that I exalt. Does that make sense? Abraham begins as the exalted father. This is the guy you want to follow. This is the guy that's blazing the path. God said to Abram, leave your country, your people, and your father's household, and go to the land that I will show you. Verse 2, I will make you into a great nation. Here's where the legacy is coming in. Again, it's not something you seek, but it's something that you live in such a way that it's going to be the result. I will make you into a great nation, and I will bless you. Good word. Let's talk about the word bless for a minute. Definitely a church word, right? Like, you don't do this in the office, like having a quarterly meeting reports and say, well, how was the third quarter? You say, oh, it was blessed. I'm like, no, can you give me some numbers? But in the church, we use this word, blessed. It's a kind of a church-centric word. But what does it mean? It has something to do with God, I'll use this word, pouring goodness on us. Giving to us. Something to do with that. And that's why we use this phrase, I'm blessed. God's been blessed, has blessed me, given me. Who here feels like God's blessed you? If you're breathing, you can throw a hand up. Yeah, we'll get to you. Sadly, in our heavily materialistic world, people think I'm blessed if I got like 2 Maseratis. I'm talking about 2 lungs. Are you with me? You're blessed. Now, but what happens with the word blessed is sometimes people think that it's 100% like you just sit there and God just, dumps things on you. And you just kind of get in your couch, or get the what's the lazy boy with the feet come out, you know what I mean? And you just kind of receive God's blessing, all right? And the reality is, it's not all your work. It's not, you aren't blessed because you're such a great person and you do so much. That's kind of like the American extreme. Are you with me? But neither is it this overly idea that you just sit there and do nothing and God just pours on you. But rather, it's this tension in the middle where you realize, I better get my self moving today. I better get up. I better get to work. Better get a job. I better do something. I don't have a job. Well, if you don't have a job, then and you're wanting to get one, then you do something that equates work. Is this going to be a good sermon, or is this not going to be? I'm not sure yet. You do something that equates productivity. And I just want to sit here and pray for God to bless me. God might bless you if you get moving. Are you with me? Go, and I will bless you. Go, and I will bless you. Just as it would be wrong for you to think that if you get up and work hard and you happen to do well in life that, it's all you. It's not all you. It's all you and it's all God. And this is the thing that you have to understand, is that you have to put yourself into it. You can't just say, God, just bless me. God says to Abram, you You need to go, and I will bless you. I will make your name great, and you will be a blessing. Now, this is what's important. We talked about this. He wasn't trying to make his name great. God said, I'm going to make your name great. He was just listening. And I will bless those that bless you. And whoever curses you, I will curse. And all the people on earth will be blessed through you. Blessing is something that God pours on us, but he doesn't want to just pour onto us. He wants to pour through us. That's the whole idea. Here's what I want you to understand today. Your life, God's plan for your life, is bigger and better than you've ever dreamed possible. But it's beyond you. That's the thing. This isn't just about Abraham. This is through. Everybody say through. That's the key word here. All the people on the earth are going to be blessed through you. Last night after the daddy-daughter dance, you know, we like danced the night away. Actually, like, you know, let's be real. We had like 4, 5, 6-year-old kids. It looked more like tag with dresses on than a daddy-daughter. But whatever it was, when it was over, you know, we cleaned up. And I'm looking around, this amazing volunteers, you know, at the church, just cleaning and scrubbing and just hustling. And it reminded me of something that I was taught when I was young. And I was taught, like, when you go somewhere and you do something, an activity or whatever it is, I was taught you leave it better than you. Anybody learn this one? I'm like, could you hold on a minute? Let me get my kids on speed dial here because I want them to hear this. I want you to leave this place, what? Better than you found it. This is something of what God's saying to Abram here. I'm going to bless the world, the earth, through you. I want you to leave it better than you found it. So if you don't have anything to do today, if you don't have any job, just get up and leave it better than you found it. Leave the people better than you found them. Anybody meet a cranky person at the checkout lately? Just leave them better. Just leave them better. You don't have to do tit for tat. So they're cranky. I mean, I don't know. It might be a cranky kind of job. I might be cranky if I did that job. Leave them better. Right? Leave the room better. Leave everything better. That's what it means. To bless not you, but through you. This is a big move. The reason that it's big is because Abram is going to leave what he knows and what's comfortable. Let me tell you something about ruts. Ruts are comfortable. I won't look. Anybody got any bad habits? I'm not looking. Man, it's just so comfortable, though. I mean, the worst habits are so comfy. It's like jammies. You know, this is not good for me. This is not helping me, but, oh, does it feel good? You just get a bad habit, you get in a bad rut, and it's just comfortable to stay there. Abram was in a place that was comfortable. Now, let me give you a little context to the story. He's called by God to leave Ur of the Chaldees. And he's called to leave later on his father and his nation and everything that he knows. Have you ever been in a situation where, I'll just put it this way, you were put in an uncomfortable situation? You're just like, I don't feel these people don't know me. I don't fit in. Anybody ever felt that way? Like, I don't know anybody. I don't know the protocol. I don't know what I'm supposed to do. One time I was traveling right after college. I went to India, and I was there for like 6 weeks just traveling. And I had no idea where I was going or what I was doing. That's the story of Abraham, by the way. God says, go to a land I will show you. Abraham's like, details, please. I'll get you just. So I go to India. I have no idea where I'm going. I went and I bought a ticket at the travel agency place in Calcutta because a friend there, or a person I had met, acquaintance had met, said, you can see all of India for 3 weeks, or you can get a pass, and you can fly as much as you want for 3 weeks. And I thought, that's perfect. I'm in India. I want to see it. I was just going to all these different churches, and but I had no plan and almost no money, no credit card, so no margin if the little bit that I had ran out. And so when I went to get the ticket, I got to the window, and everybody's jostling, and I get up there, and he goes, okay, where do you want to go? Well, when the guy sent me to the office, I understood it to be like a Eurail pass. You know what I mean? Like I bought for 3 weeks, and I could just get on and get off, but this wasn't a Eurail pass. He goes, where do you want to go? And I'm like, he's like, where do you want to go? So I took the map. I still remember that. I took the map, and I picked the 9 biggest dots on the map. That's how I decided my itinerary. It's like this. I had like 8 seconds to decide. And then I go, that's where I want to go. He made out the tickets. That was my itinerary now for 3 weeks. No clue. So I would meet somebody in a city. I'd like go find a church or something, and I'd meet somebody, and then I would say, tomorrow I'm flying to such and such city, Jaipur or whatever, and do you know anybody? And if they did, they'd give me a name or something. Well, speaking of Jaipur, I flew into Jaipur, and I didn't know anybody, and I don't know where I'm going. So I just got my suitcase. I wasn't smart enough or trendy enough or wealthy enough to have wheels, so I just carried it, and I'm walking. It's like the airport's way outside of town, so I'm just walking into town, right? And this guy comes up on a scooter, and comes up behind me, and I said, excuse me, and he says, hey, were you on a bus a couple of days ago? And I said, yeah, I was going up to Dehradun, and I said, yeah. He goes, I was on that bus. I'm like, oh, cool. He said, you want to come to my house? I'm like, yes, I do. So I get on the back of his scooter, and we go to his house, right? The first part of the itinerary, nailed. What am I doing? Going to his house. And he goes, what are you doing here? Then he's waiting for me to tell him what my plans were. As I'm salivating over his dinner, and I said, well, I'm just going to go look for a church. He goes, oh, okay. You want to ride? Sure. I got in the back of his scooter, and he knows this. And so we find this old Anglican church that the British soldiers used to use back in the day, and this big cross steeple and everything. I go, that one will do right there. I'll go to that one. So he takes me and he drops me off. Now I got to knock on the door of this place and tell this guy what I'm doing. So I knock on the door, and he says, who are you? And I'm telling him, and I'm nobody, but I'm somebody. So I was like, well, I'm just Chris, and I'm just here visiting. And he says, oh, well, that's cool. And we start talking, and he learned that I just finished Bible school. And he says, oh, you want to speak at my church tomorrow? I said, sure. No, I grew up in youth. This is my sweet spot, youth ministry, telling stories and weaving in a Bible verse. That's my zone, right? So I didn't know how telling stories and weaving in a Bible verse was going to work in the Anglican culture. More of a high church culture, right? And then we get ready, and I come in there, and I got my Bible, and I'm like, oh, this is not going to be good. This is not going to be good. And then he starts getting robed up. I'm like, I've never been robed up for nothing. I'm like, he goes, do you want to, I'm like, if you want me to, but I don't need one. I say, whatever. So we decided to go without it. I think I might have tripped. And then we got on the... I started this because have you ever felt uncomfortable? I got on the platform, and I'm so uncomfortable. And I don't know any protocol. and I'm like speaking there, and I'm trying to fit in, but I don't fit in because they're standing, and I'm sitting, and I'm watching the guy. Now I was sitting on this side, like in a big fancy chair, and he was sitting over there. And I looked down one time, and I think maybe I was just praying or saying, God, what am I doing here? And I look, and he was standing, and I was like, oh. Felt just so like out of my skin. Anybody ever been there? It's like, I don't belong here. I want to go so badly back to what's comfortable. Just, I got to be comfortable. And here's the thing. Every fiber of your being will clamor and crawl and crave comfort. But you can't grow in comfort. You can't grow there. You have to be challenged. Ready? You have to be uncomfortable. You have to grow, to really grow. And if you're ever going to blaze a trail or leave a legacy, you're going to have to leave what is comfortable. Leave. Where are we going? Don't worry about where we're going. You're going to follow me. Here's the first thing that you have to do. To blaze a path, to get out of the ruts of the past, you have to hear the voice. Abraham heard this voice. That's the first thing. God said. The Lord said. How many know God's saying a lot of things, but not a lot of people are hearing? It was funny this morning. I got up and birds were just going at it. I mean, just singing away, singing and singing. And I got up especially early this morning. It was totally dark, and I just sat there and listened to them sing and sing. And, when there's a lot of stuff going on, you can't hear them sing as much. Cars are going by, and, everything gets cranking in the day. But they're there. They're singing. How many know God's speaking? We have to listen. Are you listening? That's the question is not is God speaking. The question is, are you listening? Can you hear? Can you hear his voice? If you're in a tough rut, maybe it was a rut of your own making or one that you inherited from somebody, the first thing you got to do is you got to hear God. You got to hear his voice. You got to respond to a higher calling, something bigger than you. And then he's going to call you to leave, to go, to step out of what's comfortable, out of what you know. It's so hard because you just feel so exposed. I still remember that feeling in that service. I just felt so exposed, so alone, sitting over there in that big chair. And then they had this staircase that you had to climb. It was like a circular stair, like you were elevated above everybody in this little tiny box. And the guy gives me the nod, like, climb the stairs, And it was elevated above everybody. I was so uncomfortable. And the thing that you learn is you're going to have to go places. You're going to have to do things that are not comfortable. But the first step is the hardest. Listen, the first step is the hardest. Just sit there in your discomfort. You remember Jesus telling Peter that he was going to die? The first thing Peter says is, never. Why? It's not comfortable. It's not comfortable. Just take the first step. It's going to be okay. Just take the first step. Your life will bless the whole earth, God says to Abram. The whole earth. An incredible legacy is started with just one few steps. Now, let me add a little more layer to this story before we close. In the previous chapter, if you know the Bible a little bit, this is a key story in the Bible. Genesis 12, God gets the program running, up and running again with Abram. The God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob. Prior to this, you have in Genesis 11, you have the Tower of Babel, which, was a train wreck. And so this is kind of like the renewal, the rebirth, the restart. And I want to read you the verse from his about Abraham's father. Genesis 11:31. Terah took his son Abram, his grandson Lot, and his daughter Sarai, the wife of Abram. Together they set out from Ur to go to Canaan. It's just a big arc. Anybody remember, was it high school geography, the Fertile Crescent, or no? Fall asleep in that class? Fertile Crescent, yeah. Like Iraq all the way to Israel, basically. But not cutting across the desert. You're doing a big arc like this, right? So what they did was, he says, I want you to go from here all the way to here. And this was like an arc like this. But what happens is, it says, but when they came to Haran, they settled there. So they started here, they come up here, which is like modern-day Turkey, and they have this far to go, but they stopped. They stopped right here. They settled. Later on, Abram gets the voice from God. It's like, you got to leave. You got to go. You got to finish it. It's something like this. Half measures won't do sometimes. Do you know what I mean? Some of you, you hear God's voice, and he's like, just go. And you're kind of half in and half out. Kind of halfway there. Kind of half committed. Ask anybody that's in any kind of sports or anything like that, they will tell you, once you go, you got to commit. Abraham's dad got him here, but Abraham had to make the commitment to go all the way. When you blaze a path, when you blaze a trail, it's just these patterns that you have over and over and over in your life. And people will get comfortable in that. They go to the same store, and they go to the same place, and everybody knows who they are, and it's nice. And then all of a sudden someone says, I want you to leave all of that behind. Nobody's going to know you. You're not going to know anybody. You're going to start completely fresh, and we're going to go to a new place. Well, can you tell me more about it? No, I'm going to take care of you once you get there. I'm going to bless you. The legacy is that you hear God's voice and you go the distance, not halfway. What God wants to do is to bless you with your obedience, and then he wants to funnel that to the rest of the world so that the generations, the God of Abraham, Isaac, and Jacob, everybody just comes in line. Man, this was good stuff today. Watch these young kids get baptized. Is that good stuff? I mean, this is good stuff. I mean, if you're going to give your life to anything, you'd want to be giving it to raising up that generation, to blazing a path for them. But a path kind of works like this. You just have to keep going on it, and keep going and going and going. Like we learn this in sports, we get this. You have to practice and practice and practice and practice. Someone wrote a book about it. You need 10,000 hours. So if you're like me and you want to be a good golfer and you go out and play once a month, all you're going to do is humiliate your family. swing extra hard, you tear up the grass, you do, and it's an embarrassment. But if you want to be good, what do you have to do? Practice, practice, and practice, and practice, and practice. How do I do that in relationship to my faith? Well, I don't know how to say this exactly, but you can't go live the kind of lifestyle that doesn't lend itself to godliness and then just think you're going to just turn into a godly person. I use that phrase so carefully because it was so overused in some of my childhood years, and people thought they were godly, and I certainly don't think that about me, but it's certainly my goal. We use this Christ-like. You can't just show up at the last minute and think, oh yeah, I'm going to perform like Christ. Well, what do you mean? Well, you're going to have to set up some routines in your life. At the end of the day, your legacy is just an accumulation of your routines. That's all it is. It's just the things that you routinely commit yourself to over and over and over again. That becomes your legacy because that becomes the rut. That becomes the easiest thing for someone else to just follow into. How exactly are people blessed through you? Well, because you blaze a path for them. Now they can cruise down that path. You're cutting the way for them. And if you have a path that goes in a non-healthy direction, I'll use that, it's going to be very easy for the next generation and the generation to just go down this path. We're at an inflection point. I don't know if you totally realize this or not, but we're at an inflection point where people are making decisions about the concept of their faith in God. And we're handing this down to the next generation. And so how it works is it's like this trickle down, where in my grandparents' generation, like you just, if you didn't go to church, you at least lied about it on Monday. I'm close. If you didn't go, you at least kind of made up a story and like, yeah, it was great. Yeah, it was great. I went across town. I went to the other church. That's why you didn't see me. Because it was ingrained. This is what you do. And then it slowly was like, well, not every, you don't need to go 4 times a week for the love of God. And then it was, well, you don't need to. And then it was, well, we're busy. And then it was, I'll see you on Sunday morning. That's it. You won't see me past Sunday morning. And then it's like, well, Sundays are getting busy and, this and that. Every time I bring this up, people think I'm not being judgmental. I'm just telling you what's going on. You can do with it whatever you want to do with it. But we're just handing it down to the next generation. That's what we're doing. I mean, people, they were joking with me about the Easter. They call them CEOs. I never heard of this phrase before. Someone Christmas and Easter only. I'm a CEO Christian. Why is it so hard for the young generation to then grab a hold of something? Listen to me. Because it's completely foreign to them. It's now uncomfortable for them. It's not like putting on a warm jacket for them. It's like, who's Abraham? I can see it because I do enough of this. I can see it because I get up here to teach the Bible, and I see people like, huh? Who's that? And I'm going over some of the basic characters. I'm not here to shame anybody. It's not going to be helpful. It's irrelevant. All I'm here to tell you is this is what's happening because when you make a step, you start a journey. And then you start a trail. And then people follow in that trail. It's just what happens. So be careful where you step. Think about where you step. Can I say it this way? Don't step mindlessly. And don't just look around and go, oh, there's a path. That must be good. Ask yourself some questions about that path. Where does that go? What does that lead to? Do I really respect the people walking on that path? It's amazing to me. I think I fell asleep for like 8 years. And I just like woke up, and all of a sudden you hear these phrases. And you know, people think I should know what these phrases are, but like one of them is like an influencer. What the heck is an influencer? It's a kid with a phone? I mean, no, it's like I'm an absolute idiot. I don't know. This is an influencer. What a title to give yourself. What do you think I'm doing? I'm thinking about being an influencer. Well, what do you do? Well, you get a phone and you act like an absolute idiot. And people like it, and then they follow you. And then you make a lot of money. All of a sudden, it's people look at me like, well, that's a thing. That's actually, there's kids that think like that's a career. I'm not saying that people didn't make money doing it. I know some people did. I've heard about it. But if you have to think about influence, this is the influence. The more juvenile you act, the more people will follow you, and then this is the path. Now, follow this. Wow, he came a long way from Abraham. How many know we need some real influencers? Exalted fathers that make hard choices and do uncomfortable things, and blaze the path where people don't want to go, and they try things that other people. And this is, I feel like I got nothing. People talk about, I want to be an influencer. What you really want to do is you want to be a leader. You want to hear the voice of God. You want to blaze a path where it's going to take courage and tenacity and commitment. And what Abraham has to do is unreal. He goes through famine. He goes through the ringer, but he keeps going because he's heard God's voice. I don't really know what an influencer is, but from what I see, we don't need any of those. But we could use a lot more leaders. We could use a lot more exalted fathers, those kind of figures to blaze the trail for the next generation. All right.